Hello and welcome back to the Eyes of O Gaming channel. Thank you for joining me as we investigate another older game in the What Is It and Is It Worth It game review and showcase series. During the review, I will try my best to stay objective and as spoiler-free as possible as we go over the various aspects of the game, such as mechanics, graphics, and sound, as well as giving a general idea of the world the game takes place in. I won't be giving a number rating to the game as I find number rating systems to be very arbitrary considering the subjective nature of video games. Instead, I'll try my best to give enough information that you can decide for yourself if the game is worth it for you. If you are interested in a more subjective look, stay to the end of the video for my personal recommendation of if I would recommend the game, and if I actually enjoyed it with a simple yes, no, or sometimes a maybe, and a short explanation of why or why not. We are going back to the origin, apparently, as we take a look at Assassin's Creed Origins. Aside from the various spin-offs, this is the 10th release in the main series of the franchise, and this one released in 2017. Assassin's Creed Origins was developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. Today we're going to take a look at what this game is, the various aspects such as mechanics, graphics, sound, as well as some other features that set this one apart, and see if this title has held up and is still worth it for a first-time gamer to pick up and play today. Trying to stay as story spoiler-free as possible, we will continue on our quest to answer the most important question asked in this review series. Is this one still worth it for you? Sit back, grab a tasty beverage if you wish, and let's find out together. So unless you're new to gaming, or maybe just have a passing interest in games, it would be difficult to find a gamer who hasn't at least heard of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Being that this is the 10th release in the main series of the franchise that also boasts multiple spin-off games, it is safe to say that this is a rather well-developed and widely played series. Origins released a couple of years after Syndicate and will see players take control of the main protagonist Bayek, as he travels around completing quests in the 40s BC Egypt. Something that will immediately set this game apart from previous releases is the time period places this game in a position where it will predate the Assassin Order versus Templars fight that has become so familiar in the series so far. Instead, we will see the Order of Ancients, who are essentially a predecessor to the Templars, and the beginning roots, or origins, of the Assassin Order. Aside from name changes, the power struggle will still feel similar between the different factions, and expect a similar fictionalized historical approach to telling the story, complete with a cast of characters made up of famous historical figures, famous historical sites recreated to parkour around on, and a fantasy story to weave the protagonist's own quests into this world and incorporating many historical events in the process. Mechanically speaking, for the most part, it is still fairly similar to previous releases, incorporating stealth as a major component, parkour, and synchronization of areas to unveil more of the map as you go. You will also be discovering and assassinating targets similar to previous games, cutting your way through the ranks of progressively higher level characters within the Order. The game takes place in third-person perspective, and you'll be given greater choice when it comes to combat than previous entries. Bayek has slots for gear allowing you to equip 2 different bows, 2 melee weapons, a shield, tools, and you can even change your outfit and the skin of your mount. Upgrading your base equipment will also allow you to grow and become more powerful. Aside from equipment choice and enhancement that way, you will also have a fairly well-developed ability progression system, which allows you to choose unique abilities within the Hunter, Warrior, and Seer trees, which are essentially the same as saying Archer, Warrior, and oddities that don't fit into the others' trees. You also have an Eagle, Senu, who will be used to scout areas, tag enemies, and locate quest objectives. graphics are still really quite good. Obviously, the subsequent releases have had improvements in this area, but really they aren't aging too bad at all, and it is still quite a high-quality game graphically and very playable today. The location is also very interesting and adds a new element not heavily explored in previous entries. The Egyptian urban centers and pyramids are amazing for the Assassin's Creed parkour, and delving into tombs is really a neat way of adding exploration, puzzles, and hidden loot. NPCs look good, and I didn't run into any glitches or bugs that prevented me from playing the game. This is all pretty typical in the series, at least after the initial patches to fix glaring problems on release, and so you can expect a highly polished AAA game experience. So, Origins was the first game in the series that really took a step towards the fantasy historical RPG game, rather than the strictly assassin game that had been the mainstay of the series. This one, the changes are not so pronounced though, and the RPG elements, though fairly well developed, seem to fit in nicely with the standard assassin experience. If you've played the more heavily historical fantasy RPG releases that came after, this one will certainly feel more like a bridge between the two styles. If you're coming from the previous Assassin's Creed games and are leery about getting into the new style, this is a good one to go with, as it does have most of the elements that you would expect from the traditional Assassin's Creed. Though being that timeline-wise this predates the official Assassin vs Templar conflicts, there will be some differences. Sound in this series is usually quite good, and this entry doesn't disappoint. Music and environmental noises are well done, and dialogue is quite well written and well delivered. I have been somewhat critical of Ubisoft games' dialogue in more recent game releases, just with dialogue being written and delivered in a very awkward or forced way, though this one seems to have been made prior to whatever changes cause this weirdness in Ubisoft games. The only place to be critical here is when exploring in towns and cities, the exclamations of citizens will begin to get very repetitive.
I see you have made new friends.
They were setting up an ambush. It's a good thing I came to welcome you, huh? Ah! It's been months. Look at that beard, huh?
It's been nearly a year, my friend.
Feels good to get out and fight. I am out of practice. You see how it is.
Let's not attract attention.
So what can we compare to? Well, obviously other Assassin's Creed games, as this is another release in a very long-standing franchise. The interesting thing with this particular release is that it can quite easily be compared to both the older games in the series, as well as the newer games in the series, as it is the natural bridge connecting the two styles. Aside from that, you can look to other older games like Prince of Persia for the parkour elements and puzzle solving, as well as other Ubisoft games such as the Far Cry series for the open world map exploration, limited crafting, and the similar mechanic to synchronization found in those games. The Watch Dogs series is also becoming increasingly more similar to the Assassin's Creed franchise now that parkour has become a more developed system in those games. with Watch Dogs Legion even having a small crossover with the Assassin's Creed series. So now that we've looked at some of the features of the game, we reach the point of my review where I give a more subjective look at my personal experience with it. Please keep in mind that the following is just my opinion of the game, and if the features and genre seem interesting to you, you should definitely check it out for yourself, as not all games are for all gamers. The game that you hate might be the next gamer's all-time favorite, which is one of the things that I love about gaming. There's always something for someone out there. So did I enjoy it, and do I recommend it?
Let me think.
Yes!
Yes, for sure. It's a well-made AAA game with a high level of polish. This means that you're not going to run into annoying bugs, and everything such as graphics and sound are going to hold up for quite a long time. Aside from those cosmetics, the story is not too bad, and as someone who has played every Assassin's Creed since the very first game was released, it was nice that this one was more a focused assassin game, rather than the historical RPG that they are transitioning to. It's not to say that I dislike the new Assassin's Creed releases, I just sometimes wish that they had created two separate branches of the series, with one going in the direction that they have now taken it in, and one remaining more faithful to the Assassin's Creed style of previous releases. The setting is really quite interesting, and it's fun to interact with environments and historical figures from the period. Personally, I found that I really liked the protagonist Bayek, and his semi-stoic Medjay personality was one that I really enjoyed and connected with, making him easily one of my favorite Assassin's Creed protagonists in the entire franchise. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Assassin's Creed Origins. Have you already played through this one? What were your own thoughts on the game? Did you agree or disagree with my own assessment of it? If you disagreed, let me know why. Maybe there's something I didn't think of and you can convince me. I'd love to hear about your own experiences down in the comments, or if my review showcase was helpful, I'd like to know if you decided to go ahead with it or not. Either way, if you found this video interesting or entertaining, please let me know with a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to the channel. I make and upload a variety of gaming content, not just reviews like this, but also walkthroughs, mod showcases, let's play, and more. And I'd love to have you join the community and help direct the future of the channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to watch today, and until next time, take care.